It's a people, it's a community, it's a life, it's a heart, it's a spirit.
Parents of gay children say, I want my son, my gay son, to have the same opportunity to come to me and say, hey, Dad, I'm getting married, as my non-gay son or my non-gay daughter.
The heck would you want a picture of a tattoo of $1,000 on your penis for?
You might just need to satisfy yourself sexually alone at that point.
Do I regret it? Not one bit. Did I think that I would actually take it the next step and do it again? You know.
And what goes into their life, how they handle it. There are 12 houses, and each one of those houses has a particular function.
Look into yourself, think about it, and just be whoever it is that speaks to you.
Hello, it is June 15th, 2006, and we are live. I want to welcome you to Talking About, and tonight my special guest is a familiar face to our regular viewers, Arnie Razumny. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back again with you, Jonathan.
Good to have you here.
Yeah.
Okay, and tonight we're going to be talking about living in recovery.
Living in recovery, yes. I think that's an interesting topic that a lot of people sometimes struggle with.
Okay. And it's part of your personal journey as well?
Yes, absolutely. I was a heroin addict for 20 years, and I came into recovery at 37 years old. And when I started in recovery, I had a difficult time. Difficult not only in staying clean, but in trying to negotiate life itself. I had to relearn how to socialize. I had to relearn how to feel comfortable within my own skin. I had to learn how to find excitement and fun in my life other than running down the streets looking for drugs and getting that rush of excitement of trying to, you know, cop and avoid the police and stuff. So I really believe that trying to get your whole life back is truly the goal of recovery. It's not just getting clean. So, yeah, I believe in it a lot.
Okay. I mean, there's the journey that leads you to the point to get to the discovery that you want to get to recovery and then live in it. Mm-hmm. Is there a foundation that we should kind of go over before we really get into the living in recovery part?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, the addict's life is, anyone will tell you, is a difficult one. The things I'll talk about are based on my own experiences, and I'm sure if there's anyone out there watching that is struggling with addiction, they can probably relate to it. My whole day was comprised of looking for drugs, finding drugs, using drugs, then looking for more and using more. Jobs, relationships, anything else really didn't matter in terms of what we view as a full life. A regular person, if you will, has all kinds of things in their life, friends, hobbies, work, you know, family, socializing, all different pieces of their life that they try and maintain in balance. An addict just wants to get high and spends his day and actually his whole addicted life just consumed with that. Once you've had enough and either through some mitigating circumstances, it could be anything, could be being thrown out of your house, it could be being arrested, it could be a medical issue, it could be just being sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you seek recovery. That's the first step in the process, is getting clean, is understanding you have a problem, then getting clean, and then trying to put this life back together while you're clean and sober. So first step is to get clean, and then you begin that process of getting a life.
Okay.
So that's the kind of thing that I think many people who are thinking about getting clean find intimidating. Many people who are clean in the early stages of recovery find daunting and difficult to imagine getting their life back. And that's kind of like what I'd want to talk about tonight. You know, give some people hope that recovery is a long process. Getting your life back is a fun journey, and the potential for what your life can look like is unlimited. So
and if somebody's looking at the prospects of living without the chemicals, or living without the drink, or living without. I've heard people say, "So what am I supposed to do? What do I do now?
Yeah.
How do I have fun?
Yeah.
How do I?"
That's the most typical situation. Once someone comes into, let's say, the 12-step programs, the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, they put down their drug for a little while. They're on kind of shaky ground. It is, what do I do now? What do I fill my day with? How do I get the satisfaction at the end of my day that I'm actually alive? These are difficult questions. The answers are individualized, but I can share some experiences I've had that helped me get to where I am now. I'm clean for 17 years now, and I can tell you that the first year in recovery was extremely difficult just based on the what do I do now. The first thing I did when I was feeling what do I do now was raise my hand in a meeting. I was advised to say, well, you can't answer that yourself. Why don't you ask your support group, what do you do now? And that's what I did. I raised my hand. I said, I'm not sure what to do with my day. All the people that I was running with out there, I can't be with anymore. I don't know any of you guys. And I'm unsure what to do if I do get to know you. And sure enough, at the end of that particular meeting, a couple of people came up to me, and the first thing they did was the traditional, hey, you want to go for a cup of coffee? Which to me was unheard of. You know, first of all, I didn't have money for coffee, so they said they would buy me a cup of coffee, and we sat there and we talked in the diner. And that became part of the routine after the meeting.
Okay.
I got to know them, they got to know me. Numbers are exchanged and calls are made, you know, in the evening. Hey, Arnie, what are you doing tonight? Well, I'm doing what I did last night. Nothing. Well, how about we go to a movie? Okay. You know, and eventually things progressed until I was comfortable with one or two people, and I slowly became comfortable being in unfamiliar territory. Being an addict was very familiar. I knew exactly what I had to do. I knew when I was going to do it. I knew how I was going to do it. Being clean and sober, I was on shaky ground. I didn't know where I was. These guys helped me to get a little bit more comfortable. Okay.
And we were talking about just making phone calls and people calling you, exchanging numbers. Our number here is 718-460-9802. We are taking your calls live on June 15th, 2006, and we welcome your input into this conversation. We're talking about living in recovery, or if you want to just chime in on any recovery issue, we're more than happy to answer to the best of our ability.
Sure. Sure. I'd like people to understand, you know, your viewers to understand that the process is difficult. Acknowledge it, understand it, but take advice from people. You're not unique. People who have come after long years of addiction have come into recovery and are at the same place where you are now. One of the things I found very interesting early on was that I'm a pretty funny guy. I like to kid around, I like to laugh, I like to do all these things. But I've often used that humor to keep people distant without getting to know me. And at one point in a meeting, I said to someone I became comfortable with, you know, I'm really tired of just being clowning. And it's hard to be on all the time. And this guy gave me some very simple advice and very heartfelt advice. And he said to me, well, why don't we start with me? Don't be on with me. And that gave me one person to be able to just be real with. And from there, I was able to have that grow into being honest and open with some other people. So it's an amazing process what happens when you share a little bit and take a risk, a little bit of a risk to share what's going on with you. People will respond and people will help you.
So, yeah, you just drop the barrier with one person, turn the spotlight off with the one person.
Exactly, exactly what it is.
Plant the seed and it grows.
Exactly. I think that it's not only difficult in early recovery, but once you have a foundation and you've established the fact that you are clean and sober, other things pop up. Like, you know, not only what do I do now, but what do I want my life to truly look like? You know, the mantra of the program is, you know, just for today. And that works on the abstinence level. The first thing I had to learn was that no matter what happens today, I won't pick up.
Right.
But life doesn't stop. And that has to be applied enthusiastically and diligently every day as life is coming at you. What do I mean by that? Well, you know, no matter what happens today, I won't pick up. Involved me getting married in recovery and getting divorced in recovery, having a home and losing a home. You know, my mother passing away and getting a job and then getting promoted within the job, the good and the bad. Life comes at you.
And but taking life on life's terms.
And the one consistent thing that I utilized every day to deal with that is that no matter what happens today, I'm not going to pick up. And after 17 years, it's still the way I begin my day. No matter what happens, I'm not going to pick up. I could get promoted, fired. This could be a total flop. I'm not going from here to the bar. You know,
right.
It's just the way I'm living. I don't know about tomorrow, but just for today, I won't pick up. So life keeps coming at you. You have to address that one thing consistently, not picking up. And then, of course, you have to deal with, well, what do I want my life to look like? Where do I want to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? Well, I'm not using, I have to start planning. And
Right.
if I'm and if people are kind of like I am and was, you get intimidated by planning, because the only experience I had with my own plans were failure.
Well, you don't necessarily have to start planning. You know, you don't necessarily start planning 20 years down the road. Just, you know, keep it simple, stupid.
And you have to keep it simple enough, but have a view that you do want a life.
Right.
One of the things I hear from many people, and I work at Samaritan Village, which is a therapeutic community that helps people get clean and get sober. It's a structured environment that is very effective and works well. And one of the things I hear from people is, what is my life going to look like a couple of years from now? And basically, it's anything you really want it to be. Now, I don't want to sound, you know, pie in the sky, but the truth is there's no limitation to what you want to go for. If you want to go for a college degree, a master's degree, if you want to go to a trade school, if you want to start a career, a family, whatever it is, you've eliminated that part that's holding you back from having a full life, the using, the addiction. But you've got to plan for stuff. It's not going to come to you. And that's why when you do plan and some things don't happen the way you've planned them, no matter what happens, don't pick up. You know.
Well, that's the foundation.
That's the absolute foundation. That's what we go back to. That's what you have to rely on to get through the day. But there is life in recovery. You know, people say, all I do is go to meetings. And meetings in early sobriety are essential. For many people, meetings are essential throughout their recovery. There is a difference between hiding out in recovery and in meetings and having meetings as part of your life. There's a difference. You must find that balance.
Okay, and that can be a difficult balance to strike for some.
Exactly. And my passion is to let people know there is possibility for balance. You have to work at it. Of course, you need to have a clear and solid foundation upon which to build. And going into a treatment program and completing it, going to meetings consistently, and making some relationships in there is part of it. And then eventually there has to be a time where you begin to build the other parts of your life. If you look at your life like a pizza pie, and which we had before, and you take a look at the pizza, what you want to see are some even slices. You don't want to see one huge slice and a couple of little skinny ones. You want to see everything pretty much symmetrical. You want to see an even slice of the recovery process, friends, family, jobs, hobbies, all the things that you want in your life in even proportion. And that's what your goal is in life. That's what anyone's goal should be in life, regardless if you're a recovering addict or not. You know, you hear about people that are workaholics.
Right.
You know, what's the point of working 16 hours a day if you're not going to go home and enjoy your kids? You know,
right.
So it's really not a concept that's exclusive to recovering addicts. It's a life concept. That's what I'm trying to do in my life. I make time to come and see with Jonthan. I go home. I'll go out to dinner. You know, there's a lot to life, and of course I maintain my sobriety. It's all part of it, and that's really what I wanted to kind of get across to our viewers tonight. That recovery is possible, and obviously getting a full, satisfying life is a goal and attainable as well.
Can you run the risk of, okay, with the pizza analogy, you know, cutting into too many slices too soon, too fast?
Of course, yes. Obviously you can take on too much at one time. What you don't want to do is rush anything. There is no rush to do any of these things. There is no, okay, I'm clean a year, now I've got to get my bachelor's degree. It's a process. The way you're guided in a healthy way through the process is to get a sponsor, is to process these things with people so that you get intelligent and valuable feedback. Because if you live in your own head, that's restricting your life as well. If you plan your life in a vacuum, you're missing the sweetest part of life, which is relationships. So if you want to say, you know what, Arnie, I love doing this QPTV show, but I feel I can do more. Well, Jonthan, it's all you can handle to do the QPTV show. Show me how you're going to fit other things in.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like you don't want to. An addict alone is in lousy company, so you want to have somebody to bounce things off who will give you honest answers.
Okay, and if you'd like some honest answers and you'd want to bounce some things off of us, just give us a call at 718-460-9802. That number again is 718-460-9802. Call early. This way we can give you our full attention without having to rush through the last 3 minutes with 20 phone calls. So just give us a call now at 718-460-9802. We are here for you for this hour.
Excellent. I think that one of the things that is a really essential thing to look at is, in my position going around to different corporations and talking about recovery and Samaritan, how people can help Samaritan's mission, I'm always struck by the fact that someone will come up to me and say they either are in recovery themselves or they know someone who's in recovery, and they'll say to me, but no one knows I'm in recovery here, which is fine. The anonymity of the program is personal and is cherished. No one needs to know who is in recovery or not. But what people who may be watching need to know, who are not addicts and not in recovery, that you wouldn't know who's in recovery unless they told you they were. It's the secretary that works for you. It's the board member that you think is a captain of industry. It's the person in the next cubicle. We don't look any different than anybody else. We are anonymous, but you may kind of see a certain fullness and a happiness in us that you may not realize in other people. I'd like people to keep that in mind, that you won't know who's in recovery unless they disclose it to you. So that's another interesting part of getting a life. That person in the cubicle next to you is in recovery. because they have a life now.
Right.
They got a job, they show up, they go to work, and after they go to work, they go to the bowling alley, or they go to the movies, or they go to dinner, or they go home to the kids, or whatever they do. It's a fully elaborated life that just is very satisfying. So you're not going to see anybody with an identifying tag on them saying recovering person getting a life.
Right. Well, the recovering person is somebody in just about every walk of life, every occupation, every ethnicity, every skin tone, every hair color, every eye color, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. Every economic class, from the top of the heap to people who are struggling just to eat. Addiction knows no economic boundaries, racial boundaries, or any other boundaries. It crosses all lines. Recovery does as well. See, it's kind of easy to play to the stereotype of addiction. What I really feel very passionate about is to create the new stereotype of recovery, which is none. There is no stereotypical recovery person. It's all of us. It's anyone that chooses to tell you they are. It's like I said, the vice president of a non-for-profit organization, or the person that's cleaning up the offices, and it doesn't stop anywhere in between. It's the woman with 4 kids, it's the husband who's single, it's the gay person, it's the straight person. It just doesn't matter. Recovery, doesn't restrict itself to anyone either. It's not only the person who can afford to go to Betty Ford, it's the people who come into Samaritan Village who have absolutely nothing.
Right.
The quality of the recovery of the individual is based on what they do, not where they go to get it.
Right.
So it's very important that people not in the field of addiction or not addicted themselves understand that, so they can support this mission of people getting their lives together.
Okay, and we are live. Our phone number is 718-460-9802. We have a caller on the line. Caller, whenever you're ready, just say hello, tell us your name and your question or comment.
Yes, I have a question for your guest. My name is Jose. I'd like to know, in terms of addiction, when you know somebody who has a very serious problem with drugs and alcohol, and they are totally unwilling to take any steps to try to help themselves, or to admit even or acknowledge that they have a problem, what is the best way for somebody who cares about this kind of person to make an effort to help them? What is it that they can do?
There's a couple of things that can be tried, but none of them have a guarantee attached to them. Depending on your relationship with the individual, you can stage an intervention. You can look it up on the internet. There's a format. It's a formalized process whereby you and a couple of other significant people in this person's life can go and confront the issue. In fact, there's a TV show called Intervention, which is pretty dramatic and pretty typical of some of the ways that interventions work. I've only seen 1 or 2 of them, but the truth of the matter is sometimes interventions work and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they work immediately, sometimes they take a long time to work. These are seeds that are planted. The other thing you can do is to provide people with honest feedback, one-on-one, and provide them with some answers as to where to go, where they might seek help when they're ready. For instance, the person in your life, you may want to let them know you saw somebody on TV. He gave out the name of this organization and the telephone number, which is Samaritan Village. We're located in Queens, New York, and at the Van Wyck facility does the admissions. Our telephone number there is 718-657-6195. 718-657-6195. You might want to tell this person, here's the number. I'm telling you you've got a problem. You don't think you got a problem, but I can tell you that the fact that you spend all your money on drugs, or whatever the example you want to use, you've got a problem. Call this place. That's another thing you can do. You can download Narcotics Anonymous meetings you know, and leave it for them to go. Circle ones that you think they might be able to go to.
Yeah, a simple Google search will...
Simple Google search. And for you, the person that's trying to help the addict, you must realize you cannot do it for them. You cannot own their recovery. You cannot... You just won't win if you think you're that powerful to get them to stop. You can only provide information, love, affection, and sometimes that love can be tough. You know, if Joanthan was a friend of mine who was using it, you know, it might look like this: Joanthan, I love you to death, but I can't be around you anymore. You choose what you want to do. That's telling him I love him, but at the same time, he's got to make some tough choices. Those are some things you can do. There's a whole host of information on the internet. Please, if you can get this person's Samaritan's number, by all means, have them call.
I mean, yeah, just following the example that you just gave. I mean, in my life, there's been a friend or two where I just said, yeah, I can't watch you die. I just can't watch you kill yourself. And
of course, the difficult thing is to follow up on that, and be adamant, and have, you know, teeth in your action. You have to be able to back up what you're saying. You know, if you truly believe you don't want to be in a relationship with someone who's going to die in front of you, you've got to try and separate. Sometimes in that separation, sometimes when the person sees that you're not kidding, and that it's dramatic enough for you to leave that relationship, a light bulb goes off. Sometimes. Again, I'd be less than honest to say that any of these suggestions are guaranteed to work. Addiction is an insidious disease. Denial is monstrous, you know, to break through. People will do the most, what we might think are insane things that they would think are just perfectly acceptable and normal. And our loved ones stand next to us and look at us as if we're crazy. But we're not. We're addicts. And we do things without consequential thinking, and we do things that are hurtful to ourselves, and we do things that are hurtful to the people who love us.
Is it thinking it's normal?
Thinking it's okay. Thinking it's the way it should be. Until I was introduced to another way of living, for 20 years, you know, I did nothing but hurt my family. I did nothing but rob from them, disappoint them, push them away. When I came into recovery, I had to rebuild trust. They had to see that I wasn't, they had to see the consistency of recovery. For the first 2 years, when I would visit my mom, she would hide her pocketbook when I came over. One day she didn't, and I noticed, and I said to her, "Don't you want to move that?" She goes, "I think you got it. I think I'll be okay." And, you know, that was a great feeling for me. Before that, you know, she had to hide money where I couldn't find it, you know, when I was using. So, and I thought that was perfectly acceptable, to steal money from your mom, your sister, whoever it is. So it's a situation. I understand the caller's situation. I would just suggest to the caller that he doesn't take ownership for the result. You can only give information, pray and hope, and believe that the best will happen. It's my best that I can give you on that.
Okay, and I just want to remind the viewer that you're watching Talking About, and tonight we're talking about living in recovery. My guest is Arnie Razumny of Samaritan Village. We are taking your calls at 718-460-9802. During the first half hour on this subject, we heard from Jose, who raised a very good question, and we'd like to hear your input and feedback. So that number again is 718-460-9802.
Speaking about living in recovery, you know, an interesting thing that happened early on when I was, you know, going to meetings. I did hear someone raise their hand and share how bored they were. You know, basically, to paraphrase what they said is, "Oh, you know, I come to meetings, I go to the diner, and I'm just bored. There's nothing to do." I saw the guy the following week at a meeting, and his hand sprung up when it was time to share, and he starts saying, "You're not going to believe what I did. 3 of these guys came over to me, I'm not going to even tell you who, and we went bungee jumping. And the guy was like, I'm not bored anymore. You know, I'm saying, I don't think I'm ever going to get that bored. I mean, I'll figure out something else to do. I'm not jumping off a bridge somewhere with a you know, a rope on my ankle. But it's just to tell you that there are many things that can be done. Number 1, be open to them. Number 2, you know, don't be so egotistical that you can't look silly. I mean, we use to mask that insecurity we all have. You know, recovery is a perfect time to try and take a few risks. You know, if you're not the world's greatest dancer, go out and dance somewhere. There are plenty of sober clubs. There are plenty of, you know, events that take place within the 12-step program. It's really okay. What you learn is nobody dies from being a lousy dancer, and nobody has to use because they're a lousy dancer. You know, you can actually weather that storm and come out the other side and realize, you know, I looked like a goofball yesterday, but I'm not going to use over it today. That's powerful. Because anytime I felt uncomfortable or embarrassed, I wanted to get stoned as soon as possible, to forget what it was, and then to be able to act out in another way. Once I came into recovery, what I did was accept myself for who I am. It wasn't easy in the beginning, but it took a process. It took help from people I know to accept me and show me I was acceptable. And eventually, you know, you realize that you got to be happy with yourself, and it's okay, and you don't have to use. So take a risk. I'm not recommending bungee jumping or parachuting out of an airplane or anything like that. But if you want to do it, you should try it.
Don't hold yourself back.
Don't hold yourself back at all. You know. Another thing that people do is, you know, my experience of addicts is that they're the most sensitive and creative people I know. Part of the issue of addiction is that sensitivity is very uncomfortable. That special artistic nature very often makes addicts feel different. Once you come in recovery, take a risk. Explore that sensitive side of yourself, that artistic side of yourself. You may want to take an acting class, a creative writing class. You may want to pick up guitar. There's 1,000 things that you didn't do before that you always felt you might have wanted to do, and now you have the opportunity to do it. Don't hold back. You know, don't have unrealistic expectations. You're not going to pick up a guitar today and you're going to be Eric Clapton tomorrow. It's not going to happen.
It's not?
No, I'm sorry, it's not. Maybe for you, Joanthan, it might happen. But for most of us, the rest of us, it probably wouldn't happen. But don't hold back. Try it. I mean, what have you got to lose? And look at how much time you've lost. I mean, you spend your day, you know, putting money through holes in the wall, getting powders you don't know what they are, and then smoking them or shooting them, and what for? You know, it's enough already. You know, move on, get a life. That's my message to you. Get a life.
So I mean, just day-to-day life can be, it's just could be so altered by not being altered.
Right, exactly. You can look at anything that happens to you during the course of the day with less drama than you used to. Work becomes no less annoying, satisfying, all those, everything in between. But the drama and the impact has a perspective that it didn't before. I had jobs when I was using. I wasn't unemployed all the time. But I can tell you that everything that happened on the job while I was an active addict was blown completely out of proportion in my mind. And once it was blown completely out of proportion, I had no alternative but to calm the voices by using. I don't have to do that anymore. I can be successful at work, and it's just that. I'm not the world's gift to the recovery industry. It's just that I had a successful day at work. I can make a horrific mistake at work, and I'm not the worst person that ever held the job. It's got a perspective that's not too dramatic. The pendulum doesn't swing dramatically from one end of the day to the other. I look for a balance in my life, both in action and emotion. I strive to keep things in perspective so that nothing will throw me from my basic foundation of no matter what happens, don't pick up.
Okay. And speaking of picking up, we're going to pick up a caller at 718-460-9802. Caller, whenever you're ready, just introduce yourself, and we welcome your question or comment.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes. Hi. My name is Sharon, and I'm a recovering addict. And
Welcome.
In September, I'll be clean 8 years, God willing. And it's the most wonderful thing that I ever did in my life. To stop using drugs and drinking. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, you hear me?
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was just talking with my sister, and she was talking about being bored, and she turned on the TV, and she found this program, so I said, let me just try it, I'm going to call, you know. And I made meetings, and right now I don't make meetings like I used to make them, but I go to church, and I find that to be rewarding for me.
Excellent.
And I think it's like the best thing I ever did in my life was stop using drugs and paying attention to myself now. And I know that I never have to use again, you know, because I used to always say, I thought I had to use. But when I went in the rooms and I went to a women's meeting, and I thought, like, that was the best thing that ever happened to me when I seen the women looking really nice and everybody was friendly towards each other. And someone approached me and said, Sharon, and I couldn't even recognize, like, how did she know my name? Because I did tell someone that I would be coming. So they was actually looking for me, and I felt really good about that. And I got into everything. I was into E&A, I was the secretary, I was chairperson, I was everything. So I give all the credit to God, you know, for having Narcotics Anonymous. I think that's like the best thing. So to anyone that is struggling, I just tell them about Narcotics Anonymous. I said what I do for me right now might not be the best thing for you, but it's a God-given program, so that's why I sent anyone.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So let me try to understand. So in the beginning, when you came into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, you got very involved. You were in, you know, the H&I commitments and the various things that are offered to you to get involved. Am I right?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. And now you've got 8 years clean?
Yes.
And you say you don't make as many meetings as you used to.
Really?
Right?
Right.
Which is fine. So would you agree with me that the early foundation of Narcotics Anonymous gave you the ability to get a full life? Now it involves church, your family, you just mentioned your sister. Would you agree with me that it's a great process to get a full life rather than just keep your life contained in Narcotics Anonymous?
To me, it's to get a full life. In the beginning, Narcotics Anonymous. Because
right.
It's going to teach you, you know, how to live without the drug. Yes, but after, you know, coming in there and finding out some things, doing some step work, and I found out I can go on. You know, I can go on. And I know Narcotics Anonymous is always there for me. The doors is always open.
I really appreciate your call because you basically reinforced what I've been trying to tell the audience tonight. Okay. You're an excellent example and role model of how this process can work.
Yeah.
You know, you commit to your recovery process with a lot of attention to it early on, and then life comes at you and you get a nice full life with recovery as your primary focus, and then other things coming in. And
they'll come after, yes. But in the beginning, it's 90 meetings, 90 days, sit up front, look the speaker dead in the mouth, and raise your hand when you have something to say.
I think Joanthan should have you on the show.
Well,
thank you.
Check out our
call.
website, www.talkingboutit.info. Drop us a note, and we'll see if we can work something out like that. But thank you for your call.
Thank you very much for your
and
call.
Thank you for this program.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Have a good evening.
You too.
That was
it's an inspiration.
An inspiration. and really reinforces what I'm saying, you know, in a different way. The intensity in which Sharon approached her recovery early on was essential for her. Again, we must remember that everyone is an individual, and no one's process is the same as someone else's. Excuse me, but Sharon was intensely involved in NA, in a lot of areas, not just attending meetings, and because of that involvement, it gave her a foundation to allow other pieces of her life that are important to either come back or to begin to learn about. And you know, she's a great example of the comprehensive nature of what recovery should be, not just abstinence from drugs, but you know, a satisfying relationship with a higher power, you know, a relationship with your family members, a job, hobbies, things like that. And I'm really glad that she called in. So you're
a full and balanced life.
Full and balanced life, so that the listeners can hear it from someone else other than me sitting here, because it's
well, we love hearing from you, but it's
interesting to hear one person say it, but it's more important that this rings true with people, and I thank you very much for that call.
Yes, and we welcome your input at 718-460-9802. We have about 15 minutes left in the program, so give us a call because time is running out.
I'd like to take a minute, if I could, to talk about the difficulties for people that feel stuck in addiction. Here we are, you know, spending an hour talking about living in recovery. I don't want to let the entire hour go by without talking about that individual who may be watching, who feels hopeless, helpless, and condemned to this life of addiction. It's not true.
Right. Doesn't
there
have to
are
be that
millions of people that will testify to you that they felt the same way. They took some small action and their life was changed. In my particular case, after 20 years of heroin addiction, I found a place called Samaritan Village. I committed to doing the process of recovery the way they laid it out for me while I was a client there. I gave up trying to fight the system and just listen to people who I knew had more experience. I graduated the program. I got a foundation in Narcotics Anonymous, and as I described previously, I made some relationships that helped me get a full life. If anyone is out there struggling with the idea that they can't get clean, please call the admissions department at Samaritan Village. The number is 718-657-6195. Someone will take your call, schedule an interview with you, and will determine if Samaritan has the necessary tools you'll need to get into the recovering life.
Okay. And yeah, and it is a life.
It's a life.
There's a life waiting for you out there.
Absolutely. I think everyone needs to, you know, people have heard about bottoms, you know, and hitting bottoms. Everyone's bottom is different. No two bottoms are the same. For some people, it can be getting fired from a job. For other people, it could be much more dramatic. If you're tired of waking up and your day is comprised of looking for drugs, using drugs, and then finding and using more drugs, call Samaritan. Number is 718-657-6195. We want to help. We've been around for more than 45 years in New York helping addicts recover. The graduates of our program have gone on to lead great, successful lives. You wouldn't know a Samaritan graduate just like you wouldn't know a recovering addict unless they told you who they were. We're in all walks of life, and it's possible for you. Just make the call. That's the first step. You know, deciding you've had enough and asking someone to help you. That's what I did. I couldn't do it anymore. I went to Samaritan, and I literally sat there and said, I'm 37 years old. I don't know how to stop using drugs. Can you help me? And they said yes. And the rest is recovery history, if you will.
And here you are.
And here I am today.
So on that
on
number.
Joanthan's show, which may or may not be a goal for the rest of you, but for me, it's not bad. Okay.
I mean, I put one of your shows on the web, and it's one of the most downloaded shows.
I understand the only ones that are downloaded more are the sex shows that you put on. Am I correct? Which is why all the camera people here are naked. So if you could possibly download this more, I really want to be #1. I do have a big ego. I don't want to be beaten out by some sex therapist. So all the camera, and Joanthan is naked from the waist down here too. So please, if you would, download me more.
Hands on the table.
Hands on the table. Now we're see, you can get a crazy life in recovery.
Yes, you can. So, and there is a link to this Samaritan Village site on the www.talkingabout.info, but we're here right now for you to call in and ask your question, 718-460-9802. It is June 15th, 2006. Please call.
Please call. If there's anyone that has a question, I'd be more than happy. I'm very honest and open about my personal recovery process, quite frankly, because I'm amazed by it. I ran the streets pretty hard in New York for 20 years, and to be able to sit here with some of my brain cells left and being able to be fully employed and have relationships and be married again and do all the things I could do really is amazing to me. And it may sound like a cliche, but if I can do it, trust me, anybody who wants to can do it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if people would like to call in. And if people are hesitant to call in, I totally understand that too. It's a sensitive topic.
Right. Well, there is the link on the website, and there is the phone number that you gave out. And
right.
Yeah, that would be without an audience.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So, just the general state of the joy of living, right. And even the lows are natural highs compared to the prior, exactly. Compared to the alternative.
Absolutely. Again, I just from personal experience, I've experienced many lows while I've been clean and sober for the past 17 years. But I can tell you, because I have certain things in place, including healthy relationships, I'm able to deal with them in a much better way. And it doesn't compel me to use and throw. Maybe you've heard like the diet concept. If you wind up eating a donut, doesn't mean you have to eat the whole box. If I do something that's not so great, I mean, that doesn't mean I have to throw my entire life out the window and start going back to shooting dope. I mean, the idea is you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you move forward. So it's a similar concept to make sure that you just stay on that path. Life is wonderful. Not all the time, but overall, at the end of the day, or when we're ready to leave this world, life can be pretty good. And it's not about possessions. It's not about, how many toys you have. It's about what you've done with it. Mm-hmm. What you've done with it for yourself. And if by good grace you're able to help somebody else, that's part of it too.
Right, and yeah, there's the joy of living everyday life.
Everyday life. It's fun.
Okay, and somebody's going to share their fun with us or their question or comment. We are live at 718-460-9802. Caller, when you're ready, just introduce yourself and we'll answer your question or comment. Hello?
Hello.
Okay. I think we lost our caller. Somebody. Sorry. Well, if you're checking out now, you can give that a call to the other number, which is
718-657-6195. That is our admissions department. It's open 5 days a week, from 8:30 in the morning to 5:30 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. They will take some basic information from you over the phone, schedule an interview with a experienced admissions counselor who will give you some great insight into the recovery process at Samaritan, determine if Samaritan has the treatment plan that's right for you. If in fact we're not the place you should come to, you will get referrals from it. It's the place to start. Mm-hmm. If you want to get started and you want to make that first move and you want to feel good about something you're doing for yourself, call that number. You know, it may not work out the way you expect, but you've accomplished something on that positive side of the ledger sheet. You made the call, you kept the appointment, and you have no idea how important that can be to the rest of your process in recovery.
So even in the terms of setting goals, making that call could be the first goal that you reach out and achieve.
Exactly. Setting a goal that you know is right for you and good for you, and actually doing it. Most addicts, if you were like me, you would set a million different goals and do none of them because your addiction got in the way. Now, if I set a goal, I do my best to achieve it, and if plans need to be changed, I can adapt. But if you set that goal of saying you've had enough of being addicted and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you make the call, you keep the appointment, and you will begin the process of building your self-esteem and proving to yourself that you're capable. It's really an amazing process. When you have a certain amount of time under your belt, like I do, you look back and I'm pretty much in awe of the fact that I was able to complete a program. I had completed very few things in my life, and my commitment to changing my life, I guess, was so strong that I was able to do that. And again, if I can do that, you can do that.
I mean, there are days when I feel lucky if I can complete a sentence.
Exactly. That was me too. So I would suggest that people assess the way they're living. You know, it's not all fun and parties out there. It's not all that it's cracked up to be. There are medical issues that affect you, you know, social issues, educational issues that drugs just compromise your life with. The sooner you stop, the better off you are. Again, I waited till 37. You don't have to.
Right. And, you know, just by living in recovery, it could help you have the tools to deal with the curves that life throws you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and again, we are live at 718-460-9802. We have about 5 minutes left, so we have time for 1 or 2 more calls, and we welcome them. We will answer any question or comment that you've got at 718-460-9802. It is June 15th, 2006. Please call in.
Now, people that, you know, we've just addressed the idea of people stuck in their addiction. I want to revisit as we end the show for people that may feel stuck in their recovery. You don't have to be. You can ask for assistance of people that have come before you. Ask them what they did when they felt stuck. The best advice that I've gotten is from other recovering addicts who have walked the walk before me. Raise your hand in a meeting and talk about being stuck. You'll be amazed at the feedback you'll get at the coffee break or after the meeting. There's no reason to continue to feel uncomfortable, you know, in your recovery process. It should be something that you own and work towards making joyous. You can really do that if you want to. I do understand the insecurity in trying it. I do understand the apprehension. Excuse me, but try. Raise your hand in the meeting. Say, listen, I feel stuck. I don't know what to do. Does anybody know what to do? Okay,
and I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the next call. When you're ready, just tell us who you are and join in. We welcome your question or comment. Hi.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate the comment.
Yes. I guess that happens.
Okay, you were in the middle of.
Yeah, I just wanted to let people know that you don't have to be stuck. You can ask for help, and you'll receive the help, and you'll try something new, try something different, and you'll be amazed at how that just changes the perspective.
Yeah, whether it's in somebody who's working a program of recovery, or one of the common people, or however you want to look at that.
Right.
Everybody has ruts.
Right.
And everybody feels stuck.
Ruts are part of life. Boredom is part of life. Whether you make it your life is something else. You don't have to be bored, either in recovery or in your life. But on the other hand, you know, I don't want to give a misimpression. Addicts like myself have a problem with patience, you know, and sometimes I mistook my lack of patience for boredom, and I needed somebody wiser than I to explain that to me. You're not bored, you're just impatient. You want things to happen immediately.
I wanted it 5 minutes ago.
Exactly. And, you know, once I understood that and was kind of taught to recognize the difference, things got better. I realized that I'm not bored. I'm impatient.
Okay.
You know, I want everything to happen now.
And I want to take this one last call now. Welcome to the show. Tell us your name and give us your comment.
Hi, my name is Milagros Tomaso.
Hi. Did you have a question or a comment?
Yes. What happened with somebody with drug problems? What kind of help they can get?
Well, you can have someone who has a drug problem and that wants to get help. Call Samaritan Village at 718-657-6195. And someone will answer the phone and talk to them about what they want to do. We will try and schedule an interview for them to come in to see if we have the services they can use, and that's the first step that you can do.
Okay, and we've got the phone number out there. We'll get it out there again before the show ends. There's a link to the Samaritan Village website on the www.talkingabout.info site. We're just about at the end of our hour, so I want to thank you again for being with me for this hour.
Jonthan, I always appreciate it. I always find that sometime during the course of the week or the next week, someone will say, "Oh, I saw you on TV," and you know, it was very helpful and stuff like that. So it's really a public service to be able to put this out there, and you should be commended for doing it.
Thank you.
It's a sensitive topic. And I appreciate the time that you've given me and the attention you give to this serious problem of addiction. So thank you.
So, and that number one last time?
718-657-6195. That's the admissions department at Samaritan Village.
Okay.
Please call.
And we're going to get this show, we're on the air live now. We're going to have the show on the web as well, so www.talkingabout.info. We want some serious downloads for Arnie. Otherwise, next time he's going to have to come back without his pants.
I'm going to have to do this. Thank you. I refuse to be number 2 next time.
Okay, and thank you for joining us. My name is Jon Griffith for Arnie Razumny. Thanks and good night.
Good night.